Oh, okay. So testimonials, I get to take a little break. So what I'm going to say is I invited a couple of guests to join us today. So I am going to introduce to you this young lady, beautiful, talented, very smart young lady who let me just tell you, just what, like 3 days ago, 3 days ago, she was able to defeat this horrible, ugly monster exam called PHR. So I could go ahead and go on and on and on and on about Tanuka Mustafi, but guess what? I want to give her the opportunity to share with you her experience, through the training and her experience taking the PHR just a couple of days ago. Did she pass? Of course she passed. What are you talking about? She was one of my participants. So bring it on. Thank you so much, Tanuka, for joining us here today. It's all yours.
Thank you, Elga. Thank you so much, and thank you all for listening. So I wanted to start giving you a little bit about my background. So I have been in technology recruitment. So if you see my work, it is definitely an integral part of HR, but we don't do a lot of employment laws or get into the administrative or the strategic functions of HR, because we are always concentrated on the recruitment life cycle. And that's why I wanted to do a degree or a certification which gives me an overview or a platform to understand the HR concepts. So of course I knew that I can't do it just whatever is available online. I needed somebody to teach me. And I started looking on LinkedIn, and that's when I found Elga. What I liked about Elga was I read through some of her, even on the website and on LinkedIn, that a lot of the recommendations she had were very genuine. And, it was like straight from the heart. So I thought, let me go ahead and get in touch with her and see how it goes. And that's when I spoke with her. And, we just chatted, but it was Mike whom I first spoke with about these classes. And of course, I was convinced the very day. And in a week, I paid up, and of course, I was not local to South Carolina. I'm based out of Phoenix, and I have a family. I have 2 kids, very demanding. So I knew that being away for 8 hours is not going to be possible. So the online sessions, the webinar gave me a lot of flexibility, and it was something which kind of got me very interested, and that's how I just started. And while those sessions started to happen, I thought it's gonna be, maybe I'll fall asleep, maybe I'll not have any interest. I still remember my first session I started was with, because the sessions had already started, so Elga asked me to join and see how it goes. And the first concept I learned was adverse impact and adverse treatment. And although it is a very boring topic, I mean, if you have to just read through a book, but because it was Elga, it got so interesting that I will never get confused between those 2 concepts. So that's what Elga is all about, I guess. She makes us realize, or whether it's laws, because employment laws does get very overwhelming. There are so many things you need to understand, but because she keeps telling us over and over again, it's engraved in my mind now, I would say. And then also the support which I got. I mean, I could go on because if I wanted to do more webinar, I could go ahead and join another webinar. Then of course, when I started contemplating taking up an exam, they started putting me through the one-on-ones, which is again a big highlight, because you may think that you're doing well and you're able to understand, or unless someone asks you or quizzes you, you wouldn't know how much you know. And not only that, Elga will ask you to explain the concepts back to her. That means to say that you need to know them very well to illustrate it back to her. And when you do that, you will never go wrong even in the exam, because it's so clear and the concepts are so clear in your mind. So those one-on-one I had, I think, close to 4 or 5, and with every one-on-one I got more and more confident, and I was ready. I thought I was ready in terms of, I mean, I just did my best. She said every question you need to give your 200%. And I kept thinking about that. Every question is 200%. So when I went in, the first question was something I just couldn't make any sense of it. And I was like, what just happened after all that preparation? What did I do? I mean, I'm just not getting it. But like she said, that just don't spend even more than a minute, just put an answer and flag. And I kept flagging everything. And, the beauty of these sessions is because you're constantly talking to someone who has taken the exam. And so the best practice sharing is very high. So I kept doing whatever worked out in the past. So I started flagging and moving on, and I finished going through the entire 175 questions when I still had 85 minutes. So that means to say I had about close to 1 hour and 25 minutes to just go over all the flagged questions, which gave me a good amount of time to review. So these were the tips which actually helps. And of course, the exams are not easy. Why I would say that? Because it's a lot of concepts, it's a lot of words. It's not a direct question. They will not ask you, how many employees will an organization have to comply to an ADA. They will never ask you these questions. Everything will be a case study, question on an overtime, a non-exempt worker working, overtime. You may have to calculate and then look for the right answer. So, and then those questions may have subparts. So, and then, and you are working against time. So there's a lot of stress. You might have to sometimes, even calculate. Like I had an attendance rate question and I didn't know what, of course, at that time, remembering the formula, putting it down and getting to the right answer, it's a big deal. So, so what she does is tells us a lot of keywords. Like, I know whenever we knew, like business management, everything is about strategy. So, everything is strategic, everything is the big picture. And when you go in there with those concepts, it helps you to kind of tackle those questions. So I would say, like I said, I don't think there's anybody out there better than Elga and Mike, of course, because Mike is extremely prompt with the reading materials, the recordings, the one-on-ones, and if I ever had a question, because Elga keeps traveling, so she is not available, but then you will never be disappointed because Mike will always come back and let us know what's the next steps. And of course, going back to the recording, like whenever I had a doubt, I would go back and listen to Elga and have those concepts clear. So that's my experience. I had no HR knowledge. I wouldn't know what is a benefit. Maybe just a very high level overview of what is a 401k plan. But now I know because of Elga and, because of HRtrainingclasses.com. And I'm so glad that, I took these classes and I could pass. And of course, I'm looking at, going to the next level, but we will see how it goes. So that's from me, I think I've said enough, Elga, right?
Tanuka, thank you so much. And I'm going to say this lady was so committed. And I'm going to be honest, Tanuka, the first time I did a one-on-one session with you, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be hard. But I saw how the transformation, how you evolved, and I could see that you were studying, and look, it paid off. And let me tell you, you did excellent. She did so good on the result. There's only one area that I think it was a little bit lower, which was total rewards. But everything else, business management and strategy, was your best area of all of them. I told you that you should turn around and go for the SPHR. You did excellent. Tanuka, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity, to walk with you in that journey, to defeat this monster. And I know she said, Elga, they were difficult. It was so difficult, but you passed. You passed, and we're so proud of you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing this with everybody. If you can stick around, I think I do have a question for you on the next slide or so.